How you doing, folks? This is Pitar again, doing a review of my father's ancestry, and I'd like to start if you're new. My surname is Pitaluga. It's Genoese, Zenese as they call it, the native language of Genoa, Italy, for pick the grape. It is a noble Genoese family. My father's father was from Pinar del Rio, Manitoba, Cuba, and my grandmother was from Oriente. My grandfather, as you can see here, was white. He was 100% European, and my grandmother was a Cuban from Oriente. Um, this is about as dark as I typically get. Light brown, usually more this color. This color. Here's a picture of the actual person in the video. This is gonna be his DNA on the left. That's my dad. My sister has blonde hair and blue eyes, and she is my sister. Couple more pictures of me. You got a preview of the DNA, but here. Yep, as you can see here, in my first Genoese Cuban American video I showed, I got 23% Italian, because you can see the Anglo-Saxon, the Polish, the Spanish. So it gave me a full quarter Italian. Like my grandfather was 100% Italian. Here's more pictures of me, more pictures of me. Alright, so you get it. Alright, so this is, again, my father's DNA. I already did my DNA in another video, and I'm going to do an update on my heritage for my DNA and my father's when it comes out for 2024. I didn't receive mine yet because I uploaded mine later. But, again, my white Genoese grandfather, the Pitaluga, was probably just a mix of Italian, Spanish, and probably a little bit German. Maybe the Eastern Slavic, but I think that might be my grandmother. Right, and then, another sizable chunk of the Spanish would be from my Cuban grandmother from Oriente, and my Cuban grandmother was also a little bit French, and she would also be the person who had the South Asian and Native American. But of course, I'm Cuban. CRI genetics is great for breaking down European ancestry, but not that great for Native American DNA yet. It says Puerto Rican 10%, well, Cuban, Puerto Rico, very similar, so of course that's the highest. Colombian and Mexican, well, I mean, I'm sure there's a mix between tribes before Columbus arrived and such, but Bengali, mine on CRI genetics, as you know, had 2% Japanese in my other video that I showed. 2% Japanese, 98% white. And, my cousin got Japanese on his as well, and he's not related to my Italian grandfather, but he's related to my Cuban grandmother. He had Japanese. So it's definitely from her, although I don't know the difference. Bengali, I'm not sure. But yeah, I went over more details about Genoese, but here I'm going to break down for you my heritage for my father's DNA. 76.3% Iberian with two genetic groups, one for my grandmother, one for my grandfather. Spanish in Cuba and in Spain, Canary Islands, and one that's just called Cuba. Of course, it says in Cuba and in Spain, Canary Islands, because he's white. Scandinavian, 4.4%. North and West European, 4.3%. Although, if you look here, North and West European does include Genoa. North African 7.3, that's from the native Canary Islander. Nigerian 3.6, that's from the slave trade, and 4.1% Mesoamerican and Andean. That's going to be the native Taino Cuban. So let's see here. So of course, some of these original settlers in Cuba made it to, the English colonies as well, and some other places, and mostly just Venezuela. In the early 1600s. And the European breakdown here, you have Big Light in the Canary Islands, Big Light in the Basque, Galicia, where is that here? Salamanca, Gibraltar, and again, this is all my white Italian grandfather. Gibraltar and Genoa. Italy's not here, but that's just based on their reference panels and everything. This is just subjective. I know I'm Italian. A little bit England, a little bit German. So that's where I think, as we saw in the CRI genetics, why I would think the German, and of course the history, Genoa and Germany are right next to each other. So we move forward, and then boom, here we go. Still strong in the Canary Islands on the Basque, a little bit more central Spain. But here we have, if you zoom in, a pretty dark light, though a small one on Genoa, because I'm Genoese, and a little bit down here in Sicilia, Sicily. Io parlo italiano. Germany, England, Scotland, again, in the 1960s, 1700. Again, it highlights Cuba because it knows it's a Cuban group. Some stateside. Still some more Italian now in Naples and Calabria and Sicily. Still in Genoa. Let's see, more Canary Islands, more Basque, but now Barcelona too. London, England, more Southern Italian. And Genoese, and Sardinian, so, or that's Corsica. Sorry, that's Corsica. Sorry, yeah, so some Corsican. Canary Islands, let me see. Alright, more, much heavier light on Rome and Sicily and southern Italy. And some Galician, less Basque, more Galician, Gallegos, Catalans, Castilians. And then here you see the groups went to more places in, like Uruguay especially. I know Canary Islands, a lot of Canary Islanders went to Uruguay as well. More highlighted lights, mostly centered around the west near Pinar del Rio. And then, of course, New Jersey, where a lot of Cubans settled. And then finally here, Canary Islands again, but just Spanish. So that means right before my grandfather was born, everybody was mostly Spanish, and the rest of it's ancestral, according to what they say so far on the 2023 estimate. Keep in mind this is 2024. They're about to update. When I go back, as you can see, new improved ethnicity this estimate coming soon. Check back soon for your updated results. But now I'm going to prove to you that like I said here, the 22.5% Italian is definitely all from my Pitaluga, Pinar del Rio, Pinareno, 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 grandfather. So anyway, so the Cuban grandmother that I had, it's pretty. Hold on, we're start at the beginning. Canary Islands, Seville, a little bit Basque, a little bit of the Palma Islands, but nowhere else. As you can see here, her group is mainly just Spanish. Because again, as I'm sure all of you know, like when you think of Cuba, like obviously you don't think of Italians. I mean, a lot of Cuban actors play Italians, and I went over that and teased that a little bit in my Genoese Cuban American video, the first one. Again, Canary Islands, Seville. So a lot from Canary Islands and Seville, because it's, again, the Spanish colonial people in Cuba that, in the 1600s. So Cubans were actually free at this point. So, I mean, when you think of this, wasn't like slave rape or anything like that, because, truthfully speaking, you could ask ChatGPT or any of these, like, factual AI sites to look it up. They were no longer under Spanish encomienda at that point. So this is mostly just Canary Island at this point, 1700s, 1750, around the time the United States was being formed as a separate nation. Yeah, a little bit in northern Spain and still Madrid. As you can see here, more lights to the center and the east because she's from Oriente. Nowhere else really. Hers DNA is more unique. For Latin Americans specifically in that way, because my grandfather was more of the the European settlers going to Latin America in general, so he has a more similar genetic makeup to those European settlers. Again, here more like Gallegos, so the Gallegos in the 1850s and 1900s. And I'm sure, as a lot of Cubans will testify, a lot of Gallegos, 1800s to mid 1900s, the 19th and 20th centuries. And then yeah, Yeah, so as you can see, you know what I'm saying, just Spanish. Cubans are just Spanish, you know, but my grandfather truly was Italian, so all that Italian on CRI genetics is from my Italian grandfather. I could probably say that io sono genovese, un italiano bello, sono orgoglioso, you know, so, yeah, I'm not going to show you pictures again, but what I did want to show you guys was this. Okay, I touched on this. This is my 2016 Ancestry DNA results. Again, the other way I know my Italian grandfather was white is that I inherited 25% Iberian Peninsula from him, and then 10% Italy/Greece from my Cuban grandmother with a Spanish last name. So it is kind of backwards. I mean, that's probably more so because she was more Mediterranean and he was more like, you know, Central European Celt intermixed with Roman, so it probably looks more Spanish from the 2016 technology. But again, I'm a Pitaluga. I can say that with full confidence that I know I'm Italian. And of course, yeah, in the other videos I revealed, my mother is Polish and Anglo-Saxon. You know, hence the 8%, 9% Ireland, Great Britain. Let me see here. I also had a little bit of Caucasian from the Middle East, Caucasus. You know, they said I was 2% Native American, 5% African. It's lower now. You know what, I tease around at it. You know what, I'll show you guys my 2024 Ancestry DNA account. I really hope they update the journey soon. And again, I'm doing this because they can explain to you. It's not as though I'm not Italian, because I'm going to show you right now I'm not Italian on Ancestry DNA. But again, it's not that I aren't Italian, it's that my genes just are more similar to, in a way that a computer could process, somebody from Spain. So for a while now, the reason why I wasn't showing Ancestry DNA in the other videos was because, you know, I knew my grandfather was European, and again, as you saw in 2016, I had 25% even quarter, you know, European from Spain. You know, I have the sub-region of Spain now, so it shows that, like, you know, hey, like, you know, you have, you know, credible ancestry recently with Spain. That's great. You know, I didn't used to have that. It used to be chopped up like Portuguese and Spanish mixed and mixed. 26 is close to 25, so that's a little bit more close to being able to say I'm European. But as you can see here, when you click on Spain and Ancestry DNA, it does highlight, you know, France, a little bit of Germany, Switzerland, and northern and central Italy. So that's that. And again, Central and Eastern Europe. This for Polish people, for those of you who are like Ashkenazi Jews. I'm Polish Catholic. I'm not Ashkenazi Jew, but you know, I don't know. That was on my mind because I saw in my heritage video talking about that. You know, just in general, or like Slavic, you're gonna have Central and Eastern Europe. It used to just say Eastern European, but now it says Central and Eastern. So this is more like for the specific people of non-Russian Eastern European peoples. But as you can see here, I lost a lot on my Anglo-Saxon. I probably have photos. I'm not going to show them because I'm sure you guys believe me. You know, I mean, I grew up thinking my grandmother was just English and Irish, but I didn't even know about the German until like Ancestry reports. You know, but that makes sense. A lot of Americans have German ancestry, and of course, my maternal grandmother was 100% Anglo-American. So yeah, only 3% England, 3% Ireland, 2% Wales. 3% Sweden, that's got to be from her, and then 11% Germanic Europe. So yeah, I mean, my grandmother has a Castilian last name, but I guess it's saying that, you know, she was Portuguese. See, I don't know how credible this stuff is. You really, you know, like you know, they always tell you, like, yeah, this will give you a window into it. And then this, I find this really weird. Why do I get ethnic groups from, you know, sub-Sahara African tribes that I'm like 1% related to, but not Italy? When again, you know, guys, we've been over this like 20, well, it's my dad, but I showed you guys mine on my other video, 15% Italian, you know, on CRI Genetics. I got 15% Italian, which is more than you think, because it says, you know, Italians that are mixed with other things, like German and French in northern Italy. But, yeah, you know, yeah, you know, this, so you gotta, yeah, I don't know. That's why, like, it's like, you know, it's still not quite there. I'm sure a lot of you have, like, ancestry that you guys, don't have on your reports. You're like, why? It's like, it does have partially to do with which traits you inherited, but it's not as though you do inherit, like, the percentages you think, 25 from a grandparent, 12.5 from a great-grandparent. It's just that, the trait, I forget how it was explained exactly. I'm so sorry. You'd have to look up a video. But anyway, so yeah, let me see. 2% Native American. 2.5, less than 1% indigenous Cuba. And again, I'm Cuban. I'm not Peruvian or Mexican. 1% Basque. Basque is pretty cool. Okay, so then, let's see here. Journeys. Again, the reason you click the video. Cuban, Western Cuba, West Central Cuba. It should give me Orient. I don't, know why it doesn't. So let's view the timeline. Let's see here. And again, what I like about My Heritage is that it gives you a better breakdown of European genetic groups in the Canary Islands, because again, you just see, like, you could barely probably see it, but it's in the right-hand corner. It's like orange, and you can see orange in Cuba. They also took away the option to, like, move around the map. As far as I know, maybe there's a way to do it, and I don't know. But, well, this is, yeah, you can see the colors better. That's better. That's much better. So yeah, Cubans came to Louisiana in the 1700s, and then some Cubans got citizenship during the Louisiana Purchase, because Cubans were perceived to be white historically. It's another thing you could ask ChatGPT. 18, right? Cuba was more or less independent, so, and then you had another wave of immigration in the early 20th century. The haves and have-nots, yeah, of course. Like, my grandfather was a port worker in the port of Havana, so he was a have, obviously. And he was an administrator, too. He wasn't even just, like, an average worker. He was an administrator. Yeah, and of course, like, I live in Jersey, so there's a lot of Cubans in Union City. I'm not in Union City. We're out of the ghetto. No offense to you, Union City Cubanos. Mi hermanos. Te amo. But, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of lights in Miami, obviously. Tampa, again, I probably have some Tampa lights because, Italians, a lot of Italians in Tampa. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's Pinar del Rio, and, so it gives me Central. It should be Orient. And again, you guys are going to kill me for how long is the video. This is nothing related to my DNA, just related to Cubans in general. But I just wanted to say, like, I saw a video about an illegal immigrant complaining that he was thrown in jail after he arrived at an airport and then said he wanted to live there. They immediately arrested him. Of course, like, because you're illegally trying to immigrate here. I guess that's a step above, like, coming with absolutely no precision, like crossing the Mexican border. But Cubans did immigrate legally. So, ChatGPT, let's answer the questions. Again, this uses government sites as their resources or references. Government sites, like, there are government sites that talk about the Cuban Refugee Program and the Cuban Adjustment Act. But Cubans in the 1960s had legal pathways to come here. You could come with a visa like my grandfather did, my Italian grandfather. But even if you didn't, alternatively, while the Cuban Refugee Program allowed legal entry, some Cubans also fled by sea without visas, the boats. The stereotypical Cubans, even though my grandfather was a middle-class Cuban, these entrants were generally processed upon arrival and were not jailed, and the U.S. recognized their refugee status due to political persecution. Because of the laws, Cubans came legally. Obama changed that. And you know what? I don't have a problem with the fact that Obama changed that. I disagree with a lot of Obama's policies. But you know what? He was the deporter-in-chief. A lot of people said that. It's good. Obama actually deported more illegals than Trump. But, that being said, yeah, I mean, it's okay. Yeah, I don't hate that, Cubans can't, because, I mean, all those Cubans that are still in Cuba sided with the revolution. So, I mean, all the conservative Cubans came to the U.S., non-communist infiltration. So, yeah, anyway, there's just, my little statement. Cubans came here legally, despite what people tell you, up until when Obama changed the Cuban Adjustment Act. But, yeah. So, yeah, have a good day, everybody. Peace. Ciao, ciao. Arrivederci. State bon.